The recording has begun. Shalom and good day, everyone. We're glad that you are able to fellowship with us today for the Most High Calendar and Mystery. We are a family of YAH. This is no denomination, no group, no cliques. This is about us who bear His Spirit, for there is only one God, YAHUAH. There is only one Son, Yahusha HaMashiach, and there's only one Holy Spirit, which is the YAHUAH Kadesh. And because they dwell in us, that what makes us family to one another. So we are brothers and sisters, okay? So we come before you today to talk with you about what we talked about last time. We may, in this video, review some of the formulas that the Father not in that in the next video. Since we're in Leaven 13 month that we're in, I think it'd be good for us to talk about how to prepare for Passover, because what we are they're more focused on the task of Passover, and they're not going into the prophecy nor the mystery of Passover. Because when you study his calendar, it will lead you to the mysteries. And there are heavenly messages that are being shown or being manifested in the 3 solemn feast days, such as Passover / Feast of Leavened Bread, Shavuot / Pentecost, Feast of Tabernacles / Sukkot. So there are mysteries that's being revealed unto you, O bride of the Messiah, O 144,000, and to the nation of Israel. Messages that your leaders are not teaching you. Also, they're not following the instruction of the Messiah, because the Messiah told us, he prophesied unto us, that we shall be the temple, we shall be the house, the tabernacle of YAHUAH, or where his spirit dwell, and we shall worship him in spirit and truth now. So as you can see, many of these so-called assemblies or congregation of Israel are not following the new covenant, okay? They're not following the instructions because they don't understand these spiritual things now. Such as, for example, I'm going to put this out there. For Passover, did you not know you should partake in the washing of the feet, the drinking of the wine or the grape juice, the eating of the unleavened bread? Yes, that is what Passover is now, because there's been a change. The Messiah is the lamb. Mystery, right? But they got y'all going there buying lambs. Well, this go a little more deep. I'm going to take you a little more further. Some of you may not know this. This covenant that we're in, which is the renewed covenant, the renewed marriage we're in, is a lot excellent and better than the old covenant. You're probably saying, why? Okay. Are we not in the 4th beast kingdom? Are we not in Satan? It's not ruling this earth now. So do you not think he's going to make it easy for you to keep the covenant of Yah? He has placed before you stumbling blocks. And I'm going to use this for example. Think about the poor and those who are locked up in jails and prisons. They cannot go out and buy a lamb. So how are they going to be covered and not break the law? Something you got to ask yourself, something you need to meditate. So this is where the new covenant come in. Even if you cannot get the wine or the grape juice, let's say you don't eat the unleavened bread, you're still covered. You probably saying, huh? What is sister? Yes, you are. Because when you understand the spiritual things, when you understand who is Torah, who is the bread of heaven, who is the fountain of the living waters, when you understand who is the lamb, do you understand why you are covered? So what the Father wants you to do is break your Bibles out. Read his word. Understand what his Passover is, from the old covenant to the new covenant, so you can understand what is to come, the covenant that is to come, in the kingdom that is to come. That's what he wants you to do on these holy and sanctified days, and to recognize this is his holy day, and to recognize his days are sanctified, They are holy and they are set apart from the other days. So don't treat his days the same as you do an ordinary day. Come with some respect and honor. So before I keep on talking, we're gonna go into prayer. So my sister, can you lead us into prayer?
Sure, sis. This is the book of Psalm, chapter 25. Unto thee, O Lord, do I lift up my soul. O my God, I trust in thee. Let me not be ashamed. Let not mine enemies triumph over me. Yea, let none that wait on thee be ashamed. Let them be ashamed which transgress without cause. Show me thy ways, O Lord. Teach me thy paths. Lead me in thy truth and teach me. For thou art the God of my salvation. On thee do I wait all the day. Remember, O Lord, thy tender mercies and thy loving kindnesses, for they have been ever of old. Remember not the sins of my youth, nor my transgressions. According to thy mercy, remember thou me for thy goodness' sake, O Lord. Good and upright is the Lord. Therefore will he teach sinners in the way. The meek will he guide in judgment, and the meek will he teach his way. All the paths of the Lord are mercy and truth unto such as keep his covenant and his testimonies. For thy name's sake, O Lord, pardon mine iniquity, for it is great. What man is he that feareth the Lord? Him shall he teach in the way that he shall choose. His soul shall dwell at ease, and his seed shall inherit the earth. The secret of the Lord is with them that fear him, and he will show them his covenant. Mine eyes are ever toward the Lord, for he shall pluck my feet out of the net. Turn thee unto me, and have mercy upon me, for I am desolate and afflicted. The troubles of my heart are enlarged. O bring thou me out of my distresses. Look upon my affliction and my pain, and forgive all my sins. Consider mine enemies, for they are many, and they hate me with cruel hatred. Oh, keep my soul and deliver me. Let me not be ashamed, for I put my trust in thee. Let integrity and uprightness preserve me, for I wait on thee. Redeem Israel, O God, out of all his troubles. In the mighty name of Yahusha we pray. Amen.
So
Amen.
be it. So be it. And I do want to apologize. I usually announce that for sisters, cover your head, and brothers, uncover your head. For that is the sign that the Father wants us to partake in when we pray. Then those who are not able to partake in that sign, because remember we have those who are in jail or in prison, or who are on their sick bed, you are still covered. Again, we don't understand the mystery of the new covenant and how we can operate like that. Like I said, mysteries. So what y'all see before you is a picture, and the title of that picture is The Leaven of the Pharisees. And what the Father is saying here unto us, my brothers and sisters, we need to go back to the gospel. And we need to read what the Messiah wrote about what is the leaven. Okay, what does the leaven represent? I know many of y'all taught that the leaven represents sin, but it goes further than that, y'all. The leaven has to deal with what you're being taught by Satan and by man. Removing all the doctrines, put like this, removing everything that you think you know, emptying your mind. That's what the Father needs you to do. He needs you to empty your mind so his spirit can teach you. Because I know many of you are more focused on the task of removing the leaven out your physical home. Okay. So right now you and what we have learned about the beast, they had defiled so many things. You don't know what's in what anymore. So even if you try to keep this perfectly, you're gonna find that you might make a mistake. But guess what? You're covered. That's what people don't understand. Covered because the Father know what kingdom you are in, okay? Which I'm trying to bring up this picture here. Let me see, can I get it right? See, this is what y'all more focused on now. But the Father needs you to be focused on you because you are his temple now. You need to pray, meditate, and fast and get before him and ask, what is the leaven that's in me, Father, that needs to be removed? And I'm not talking about yeast. I'm talking about something spiritual, something that's implanted in your heart. This is where the Father needs you to be at. Now, it's okay to partake in the physical act of taking the leaven out your house. It's okay to practice that. But while you're practicing, the Father's going to ask you how you remove the leaven that's in your heart, that's in you, that's keeping me from you. Okay? Now let's bring me to this. We got to go to the agenda, y'all. So let me bring the agenda up. So we can get the date. Because this is going to be a short lesson today. We're not going to be too long today. Okay? Because like again, this is the 13th month, and I'm happy that we have a leap year because the Father really need us to get before him, to talk to him, so we're not to prepare for Passover. We are aware that the heathens are keeping their Passover started on March the 27th at sundown, and they're going to end it at April the 4th at sundown. Okay, and I had shared with y'all in the past couple weeks that is not correct. They operate out of season, and I do need to correct myself. They are known as the YAHUAH, the Jewish, and unfortunately, some of the Israelites are falling right behind them. Again, the prophets. The Father has given us his prophets. He has given us the formulas. He also has given us the heaven and the earth as a witness to let us know that that body's not right. I had shared videos with y'all showing y'all what it should look like, and they're forcing it. We also have further proof from the formulas that was given to Enoch that is found in the 1611 Bible. Some of them formulas can be found in the 1611 Bible. Even the heathens today are using those formulas, okay? So, like I said, I have given proof upon proof, all right, to share with you and to prove to you that we're in leap year. All right. And those who understand what I'm talking about, those who are into agriculture will see what I'm talking about. You can tell, you can look at the environment and tell we're in leap year. All right. Now, as far as the date, according to the Most High calendar, because this calendar is different from the heathens calendar, y'all. That calendar comes from Satan, the Gregorian calendar. So the Father Day is we are in the Dar second. Now, Dar means exceeding glorious. And there's a video on the channel to give you the mystery of what that means. Okay. So we're in Dar the second. It is the 13th month, and today is the 14th day. For us the year, we are in the 8th day from Adam, which is the 13th day of creation. For us where we at with prophecy, we are in the 8th week of Enoch's 10-week prophecy. For us the date of the sun, remember the Most High calendar made of 3 lights. We have the moon, we have the sun, and we have Mazzaroth. So you need to know the date of the sun. Even the Dead Sea Scrolls will prove what I'm saying unto you. For the Israelites kept record of the dates of the moon and the date of the sun. Okay, so the date of the sun is we are in the sun's 13th month, and it's the 7th day. I'm going to check my calendar I have on hand just to make sure I'm giving you the right date for the date of the sun. Yes, I am. So it's the 7th day of the sun's 13th month. Now notice how, okay, make sure, yeah. Notice how the sun is on the 7th day and the moon is on its 14th day. You need to ask yourself, why is the moon ahead of the sun? Again, remember the moon has lesser days in this year. So the moon would start earlier and earlier than the sun. That's another witness that I'm giving to you now. Even math would tell you where we at. All right. Now, far as this day, it is an ordinary day unto the Father. For his Sabbath or his 7th-day rest won't start until the heathen's day that they call Sunday at sundown, right? But for today, we begin this day, the 14th day of the 13th month. We begin it from sundown to sundown. For we are the children of light, because our Father is the Father of light, so we imitate him. Therefore, we start our day from sundown to sundown. Now, the heathens does complete opposite, okay? Now, the heathen month that we're in, they call this month March the 27th. And the year is 2021 AD. Now, they named this day of the week Saturday, which comes from the Latin word dies Saturni, which means the day of Saturn. Remember, the heathens worship the most high creations and the things that's in the heavens. To understand why the heathen link this day to the day of Saturn, you have to read Revelation chapter 2 and chapter 3, because we can see that the synagogue of Satan is definitely ruling the earth, and they even set an example for the earth of what to do in this time of the plague of the COVID-19. Oh, I hope y'all been watching and paying attention. Oh yes, the synagogue of Satan is ruling the earth. Okay, so they start that day from midnight to midnight because they are the children of darkness. All right, and because they are the children of darkness, they want to imitate what their father do. For Satan is their father, and he is the father of darkness. Therefore, they start their day from darkness to darkness, which is from midnight to midnight. So even studying the calendars will show you what kingdom we're in. We're in the fourth beast kingdom. Even studying the calendar will show you the difference between them and from our Father in heaven. Okay. There's some things I need to mention that I didn't mention in the last video. Okay. So let me get to that point with the agenda. When we got together last time, we talked about the East Point, and I forgot to mention this. Remember that the heathens, like I said, they don't follow anything that's correct. All right. Remember with the heathens, they had moved time up. So we lost the hour, right? They call it daylight saving time. So when we saw the sun rising in the east, on the east point, remember it occurred in the 6 o'clock hour. So sun rising on east point occurred in the 6th hour, or I say 6 a.m. hour. Maybe I put 8, which I put hour. Remember back then, our ancestors didn't keep up with minutes, they kept up with hours. Okay. So I think for me, I saw the sun rising. It was, I think, either 7:14, something like that. It was in the 7 o'clock hour window of what the heathens had. But to be correct, I saw it rising in the 6 o'clock a.m. hour window. So that's something very keep in mind. Very important, because then we can see that the afternoon point is 12 noon, 12 p.m. noon. And then I'm talking about when daylight is 12 hours to night, about that time. Then you will see the going down the sun to happen within that 6 o'clock p.m. hour. So that's very important to know when you are looking for your east point, or you're looking for the day of the spring equinox from the rising of the sun on the east point. Very important to know for your notes. I also forgot to mention that if you were not able to see your east point that day, because just like I said, it didn't come to my mind. I was meditating on this. The Father shared with me that if you missed your east point that day on the spring equinox, what you could have done was find your west point, okay, when the sun was going down. And then once you find your west point, then you know your east point is behind you. So that's another way to find the east point. This FYI. And what we're going to do in the upcoming, what's the word I'm looking for? Like in the upcoming solstice and the upcoming equinox, we're going to look at the points when the sun rises on those days. Okay, and it's very important to know this, because for those who are watching the heaven now, we're noticing now that since daylight is working itself to become longer than night, the sun is rising in the northeast point. It makes sense because it's going back further and further. Okay, for example, let me get me a picture here. I'll put a circle here so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna put this circle here because I want you to see what I'm talking about. Okay. Everyone see this circle? Those who are on with me today? Do y'all see this circle?
Yes, sis, I can see it.
Okay.
Okay.
So notice what I'm doing, because this is the only way y'all can see what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll put an X here. Okay. So let me minimize my screen a little bit. Let me bring this down so I can get my width up. Okay. On the day of the equinox, we know that this is where the sun is going to rise. It's going to rise directly on that east point. So this picture, this is the east point. It's like in the center. Okay. So we know on the day of the equinox, it rose here. But now those who are watching the heaven, we're seeing that the sun is rising more in the northeast direction over here to the left. When you're facing the east, it's going to be to your left. Let me put down north. Oh, it'll be too close. Right here where my cursor at, y'all. It's going to be somewhere over here where the sun going to rise, which makes sense. Because if daylight supposed to be longer than night, the sun or the light that we see in the heaven, I'm sorry, let me go back and correct myself. The sun that we see rising in the heaven is going to start further back from east, more in the north area, the northern area, right? So when it starts further back here, daylight will be longer than night. So when it gets to the west and it goes down, your night will become shorter. Because when you study Enoch's writings, remember that's the first, second, and third book of Enoch's writings, you will learn that the sun is given the authority to dictate unto us how long daylight would be and how long night would be. Because we learned from our past studies that when the sun goes down in the west, it's still moving. This is the part where we cannot see, but it's still moving on this circuit in the realm that it's in. Remember, there's different levels of heaven. Okay. So this is the part we cannot see, but the sun is still moving. It's still working itself towards the north point. And when it comes out in the east again on the next day, it's going to rise more in the northeast direction. So this is from spring to summer. You need to make a note of that in your notes. From spring to summer, you have daylight working itself to be greater than night. Okay. You're going to have the sun rising in the northeast direction. Very important to know. Also, I want you to pay attention if the sun is high above in the first firmament of the heaven. I mean, in the first firmament, which is called the heaven, the first heaven. If it's high, And also look at if it's close to the earth. These are things you want to pay attention to, because by knowing these things, you're going to know what season you're in. You're going to know if you're in spring, you'll know if you're in summer, fall, or winter. Very important. Okay. So that was a couple points I forgot to add. All right. We already talked about why the sun has 365 and 366 days, which bring me to this. I need to share this with y'all. Oh, I'm going to have to come back. Time and Date has a calculator for you. So when you're looking at other people calendar records and they are claiming that their sun year only has 364, and those who want to keep a moon record, if they claim they have 354 or 355, you want to check that. So Time and Date has a calculator where you can see the total number of days they have in that year, and it's very important because on the Gregorian calendar, their calendar year, we either have 365 or 366. So those who are only a solar calendar keeper only, if you say you have 364, then your day is going to rotate. It's going to move up. In other words, if you started on March the 14th, and the next year it'd be March the 15th or March the 16th. Which brings me to this. Those who are saying that the equinox on a different day, okay, well, you have to know this. You have to know that your earth has shifted now. So you can no longer go by the rule of 12 hours of daylight and 12-hour nights because the earth has shifted. So you have to find your east point, and you have to identify what it is in order to know what day is your equinox. Okay? So we're going to look at Time and Date. Like I said, Time and Date got some great tools up there to help those who are checking people calendar records, because we're finding now people are not being honest. They're covering things up, you know, maybe because they're not understanding some things, but we need to be honest. Okay, we don't need to cover anything up. This is how we learn, from trial and error. And now we begin to see that what he gave unto the prophets is true. It is correct. It is on point. So Time and Date, we're going to look at that calculator. Probably not in this section. We're going to come back and look at the calculation of the epoch in the new year, because we learned that the Most High prophets, if you follow that formula, you can get the exact day when you're going to see the new moon of the new year. And because I have past calendar records, it'll confirm that that is correct. Those formulas are on point. On point. All right. And that's in 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Enoch. To understand his calendar, you have to have a strong foundation in Torah, which is the first 5 books, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. You also need to have a strong foundation in the gospel, which is the first 4 books, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, in order to understand his calendar. By having a strong foundation, it will also lead you to understanding the prophets and the scribe writings, which is the extension of Torah. And when your foundation is rock strong, solid, then you will understand that his calendar is made of 3 lights, which are the sun and moon and Mazzaroth. And by having this knowledge, you will see how everything line up. You will see that there are witnesses the Father gave us, which are the heavens, the earth. We also see things within the earth that will line up to let us know what season we're in. Now, if these things are out of order, I hear some background noise, y'all. If these things are out of order, he has given us the formula to break the tiebreaker. So the formula of the prophets is going to give you the final answer. So in order to understand his calendar, you have to go out and observe the heavens. Don't be only paper calendar keepers. Go out there and look at the heavens and see if it lines up what you have on paper. Okay? So in addition to those books I'm telling you to read, again, you must read 1st, 2nd, 3rd Enoch, and the book of Jubilees and the work of Josephus, and you will see how everything lined up. Despite of what the Gentiles translated, you can still find proof of what I'm talking about. Because those things was not given unto the Gentiles, it was given unto the Israelites to understand those things. And there are hidden codes. There are messages in there. Okay. So you will see it. All right. They take care of that. Let's go to time and date. And I need to show, let me see that I had up here. I need to show my copyright thing. So whatever I show that's copyright is for education purposes. Okay, it's taking a while to come up. Okay, so we got that out the way. And next, I need to take you to time and date. Okay, time and date has some good resources for those who are checking people calendar records, and you want to make sure what they're giving you is accurate. Remember, we are all Adam, we are all human, we can make mistakes, okay? But this is a great resource to use when trying to determine how many days a person have in their solar calendar or in their lunar calendar. However, from the teachings of the prophets and from the living word, we learned that his calendar must consist of the 3 lights, the sun, the moon, and Mazzaroth. This is why many are erring and having problems with their current calendar. So when you go to, let me see which one you would go to, because they have a calculator for everything, but I believe you would go to date calendar. Go to that one. Or let's see. Let me try the date to date. It's either date to date. Yep, that's it. So you want to go to days calendar, days between 2 days. Okay. So we're going to do an easy one because most of us are familiar with the heathen format. So we're going to start from January the 1st to December the 31st. Remember, we want to go to the end of the year. And we do want to include the end date. That means you want to include December the 31st to be counted. Okay, so we do want to do that. And we see the results is you have a total 365 days for the heathen year, starting from January the 1st in the year of 2021 to December the 31st to 2021. Very important. So when you're calculating your solar year, remember your equinox day is the last day of the sun's year. So we know The Equinox day for this year was on the 20th, I believe, on the heathen's calendar in March. So because the equinox day on March the 20th, that's the last day in that sun's year. Remember, the sun is entering into the first sign of Mazzaroth. And when you read first Enoch, you will learn that's the last day of the sun's 12th month. So the beginning of the sun's new year would be on the heathen day, March the 21st. And let's say the next equinox day is on March the 20th. In the year of 2022. Remember, the heathens don't do like we do. So I want to see how many days is in that. And you will see you get 365. So this is a tool you can use. It's on time and date. You can basically go to the home page and you will click on calculators. And the one that I use from date to date. And this will help you see how many days a person have in their year. And don't let people deceive you. You check behind them. Because math don't lie when it's math do not lie when it's done correctly. Always have all, and then too, they want to try to push them. It's always good to have a witness that you trust of your own that know how to do math to confirm what you got. Okay. The next thing I need to take you is some updates to the chart. That the Father has shown us this year. So you'll know when you will have the 13th month. Okay, here we go. Right here, rules when we have a 13th month. What is the ultimate rule when you know you're going to have a 13th month? What's going to break it? It's the 358 rule. That is the formula that's given to the prophet Enoch. Okay, and as we come together as a family of Yah, we'll talk more about this so you get the understanding. Again, there's videos on the channel that we did on this, on the 358, that will break it down. But this is the ultimate tiebreaker. Because it has been prophesied that because we are in the days of sinners, some things may appear out of order. In other words, you can have things to ripen before the proper season. Because we are in the days of sinner. That is a sign unto us to let us know what time we're in, what is going on. Okay. Another thing you will notice when to add a 13th month, and this is not always the case, because those who keep a 13th month, you won't always see this. But those who do not keep a 13th month, you're going to see this. You will see that the moon will start its year 10 days or more before the sun and the stars starts its year. That's guaranteed. You'll see it for those who don't keep a 13th month. But because those who do keep a 13th month, because we deal with a bank of days, you're not going to always see that until your bank zero out. Another thing we look at if the barley is ripened. Now this year we noticed that they was pushing it to be ripened, but it's not. When you look at those videos and those pictures that you'll see, it's not. It's still mostly green, and it was not tanned. Now here's the new information that the Father brought to our attention. We have to look at the date of Passover and the date of Feast of Tabernacles, because this is proof. This is no shadow out the doubt. Even the Bible will confirm and back me up. Your Passover must occur in the spring and on a full moon day. That is the rule. Your Feast of Tabernacle must occur in the fall and on a full moon day. One of the signs that's given in the Bible is that you have what darkness to happen from the 6th hour to the 9th hour, from the 12 p.m. noon to what 3 p.m. noon, in the 12 o'clock hour to the 3 o'clock hour. And how man explained that darkness, they said that it was on a full moon day. And that type of darkness is called a total lunar eclipse. A total lunar eclipse, not a solar eclipse. Eclipse doesn't last as long. This is going from 12 noon, from the 12 hours. So you count those numbers, you got 12, you got 1, you got 2, you got 3. Now the difference between those numbers is 3 hours, but when you count the total number of hours, you got the 12 o'clock hour, so that's 1 hour. You got the 2 o'clock hour, that's 2 hours. Then you got the 3 o'clock hour, that's 3. I'm sorry, you got the 2 o'clock hour, that's 3, and then you got the 3 o'clock hour, that's 4. Okay, that's how long that darkness works. So the Gentiles today call that darkness, or they say that that darkness was happened by a total lunar eclipse. There are certain that this darkness happened also within the old world. It's a record of this. So this is how we know that Passover occurs on a full moon day. It's proof there in the Bible. Another thing you have to look at is that your Pentecost must occur in summer season. And we're about to go to Leviticus 23 today because my sister had a good question. How do we know that Pentecost occur in the summer season and not spring? Because I know what they've been teaching y'all. Remember, the Father has given us 2 witnesses, the heaven and the earth. When you understand agriculture and those prophecies, then you will see why Pentecost must be in summer, not spring. Remember the 4 divisions of the year. Remember the events of the flood, which is what? The 1st month of the sun, then the 4th month of the sun, then the 10th month of the sun. I'm sorry, the 7th month of the sun, and then the 10th month of the sun. Those are the 4 divisions of the year. 1st month of the sun is spring. 4th month of the sun is summer. 7th month of the sun is fall. 10th month of the sun is winter. So you're supposed to have 3 solemn feasts, 3 feasts that deals with what? Harvesting. So you have a harvest in spring, a harvest in summer, and a harvest in fall. So what you can rest in winter. Okay, so looking at the date of your Passover, your Pentecost, and your Feast of Tabernacles will also let you know if you're going to have a 13th month, because they have to occur in the right season. Say this again. Passover must occur in spring. Your Passover from a V14 to a V21st must happen in the spring season. It cannot start before the spring equinox. Okay? It must come after the spring equinox. Same thing with Feast of Tabernacles. It must occur in the fall season from Ethanim or Tishri 15th to the 22nd. So all them days must happen on the fall season after the fall equinox. And Pentecost must happen in summer season. Again, talk to any farmer. The wheat must be ripened in summertime. It doesn't ripen in the springtime. It ripens in the summertime along with the grapes. Josephus would back me up, and the Bible would back me up. And agriculture would back me up. And some of y'all may not know this, that, do you not know Israel get most of their wheat from America? They don't grow their own wheat. There's some videos on the channel that talks about show me your wheat, that talks about the 4th month, and it gives you articles proving that Israel don't grow their own wheat. They are heavily dependent on America. Well, Israel don't grow much of their wheat. They are heavily dependent on America to send them wheat. And there's articles that would back me up to show you that the wheat that is grown over in the land of Israel only ripens in summertime, after the summer solstice. Something to look at. Okay. And then we also look at weather. Those are some of the things you can look at. But the ultimate tiebreaker is the 358. Another thing that would prove to me, that would prove unto you about the wheat harvest only being ripened in summertime, in the 4th month of the Most High calendar, I'm talking about with the moon now, is John chapter 4, verse 35. Because you would see he had just finished Passover. And even the Messiah said, what? In the next harvest to come be in 4 months. That means within 4 months. John chapter 4, verse 35. Spiritual mystery, that's the harvest we're in now. The barley harvest has passed. So next, I'm going to take you to Leviticus chapter 23. Because my sister had a very good question. And the question was, are we only supposed to count 50 days? Let's see. Let's see what the word of the Most High say. Because I understand with English, it would trip us up. Because that's all we hear. We hear 50, right? So we're going to go to our Bibles. We're going to go to Leviticus chapter 23. Remember, each chapter give you a piece of the puzzle. Some chapters, means not some chapters, some books go in more depth than the other. So to get the whole picture about Pentecost, to get the whole insight, you need to read Leviticus chapter 23. I'm reading from the King James 16:11. We're going to be looking at verse 15, 16, and 17. But I'm going to start with the chapter summary first. It said, the feast of YAHUAH. The Sabbath is a feast. The Passover is a feast. The sheaves of the first fruits, that's the barley, y'all. The feast of Pentecost. Gleanings to be left for the poor. Feast of trumpets. The Day of Atonement. The Feast of Tabernacles. And the Father want me to remind you this again. It's very important. You read all of the books. Don't just run with it. Remember, each book has a certain piece to the puzzle. One may go in more depth than the other. And then for a backup or confirmation to you, he has given you the heavens and the earth as a witness unto you to confirm these things. So we're going to go to verse 15. It said, and ye, okay? So we start with an and. So in addition to, okay? Now, what starts above is talking about the sheaf weight offering, the barley harvest. Josephus and the book of Joshua will tell you that Aviv 16th is the day that comes after the Sabbath. And it's the day when the manna ceased. It is the same day when the Messiah resurrected from the grave with the saints. It is the same day that is the first day of the week. Of the week. That's in the gospel. Because Mary didn't get to his tomb until at the rising of the sun. But he arose in the dawn phase, that first light that you see in the heavens. That's when he came out of the tomb, on the dawn phase, that first light before the rising of the sun. This is why I say you got to come to the whole volume of the book to break this down. So when you read these verses above about the sheaf weight offering, and when you read along with the book of Joshua and with the gospel, you will learn it is Aviv 16. And even Josephus will back me up. He tells you the sheaf weight offering day is Aviv 16. That is the day you start counting after the Sabbath. Very important. So this is why it's open up with an and. It said, in addition to that above, ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath. What is the day that came after the Sabbath day? Sabbath day was Aviv 15th. So the day after the Sabbath day is Aviv 16th. Okay, so we start counting on Aviv 16th. So from the day ye shall bring the sheaf of the wave offering. 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. So verse 1 say we are to what? Count 7 Sabbaths. Remember, Aviv 16 is your first day of the week. The first day of the week. So 7 Sabbaths, right? Then verse 16 is giving us another part. Even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath. It's giving us something addition. It say, even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath. So after the 7th Sabbath, what is the day? The day after the 7th Sabbath. I'm going to have to take notes so y'all can see this, because I'm going to have to share my screen. Let me see here, because I'm trying to think how I want to do this. Let me bring this open. So we said in verse 15, this is Leviticus chapter 23, looking at verse 15. Verse first say what? We have to identify the day after the Sabbath. So the day after Sabbath is what? Aviv 16. What would it be? First day of the week. The morrow after the Sabbath. And so we can understand the Sabbath is Aviv 15. So see if it's going to back me up on this one too. Because I know many of y'all run to Josephus for the other part, but I understand the other part and why it's there. But y'all won't run to this one. And so y'all notice this is in Antiquities, Book of Antiquities. I think it's book 3, chapter 10. That's where you're going to find it. Book 3, chapter 10. So the next verse, I need to put verse 15. Verse 15. So the next verse is verse 16. So it's giving you something in addition to. It said what? Even. So that means in addition to. Let me go back to that verse. It said here, even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath. Wow. Let me copy this. Because this is English. And we have to take our time and read every word and look at every comma and even the conjunction. I do need to put here, when you look at verse 15, you need to go to the book of Joshua. Joshua going to walk it out. Because the manna ceased, and we know the manna represent the Messiah. John chapter 6. He tells you he is the manna. Okay, let's keep going. So it say, even unto the morrow after the seventh Sabbath. What is the morrow after the seventh Sabbath? Something to think about, right? And notice here, it said after the seventh Sabbath. So even to the morrow after the seventh Sabbath, we got to come, we're going to pause. Shall ye number 50 days? Now, another way of saying, shall ye number 50 days? You're going to count 50 days. Why we got to count 50 days? It's going to tell us why. It got a pause, it got a camera, it's got a comma here. And so say, in addition to that, of what? Counting 50 days, ye shall offer a new meat offer unto Yahuwah. Now, this is where the witness is going to come in of the earth. All you Israelites are quick for the month of Aviv, are quick to bring in or show us barley. But I don't see none of y'all during the time of Pentecost quick to show us the wheat that is ripe and that is ready to be harvested to what? To bring a new meat offering unto Yahuwah. For those who saw the Torah is that we know that this new meat offering we're going to bring unto him is made with leaven, is dealing with loaves of bread. We got to present to the Holy of Holies. In other words, present to Yahuwah. That's what the high priest did. So I don't see no Israelites showing me wheat that is ripened, but y'all are quick to go to the grocery store to buy some flour. Do y'all see how this is out of order? When we know the count is based on agriculture, go back to Genesis. What did he make Adam to do? What was his job in the earth? His job in the earth was to sow the earth. So it's about farming, it's about agriculture. So all these things line up together. They go in hand, forming a what? A circle, unison, one. Okay. So the morrow after the Sabbath day. So that's the day that comes after count the seventh Sabbath. That's when you start numbering your 50 days. And I got a calendar to show it to you. Let's go to the calendar. So you can see this. I'm pulling it up, y'all. Just give me a minute. Okay. So, okay, here it go. Here go the calendar link. All right. So we look at verse 15 and 16. We're going to walk it out. I'm going to take you all the way down to Aviv for the year of 2020 to 2021. So it's going to take a while to get down there to it. Bear with me, but you will understand it if you can see it first. As I'm going to it, the Father's telling me to remind you what the prophet Isaiah said. He said, my thoughts is not the same as your thoughts, and my ways are not the same as your ways. Y'all need to have his mind. You've been around these heathens too long, been taught by these heathens, but we need to see things from his point of view. You got to be like that unleavened bread. You got to empty your mind, forget everything that you think you know, and hear his spirit. Okay, we about getting there, y'all. This takes a while. Okay. I'm at the bottom, so now I can go up. So when we look at verse 15, to those who are on with me, I had identified unto y'all the Sabbath day, because this is in the time when the Messiah was here. He was our Passover. So we know he was crucified on the 14th day. And they had to hurry and bury him because the word said that the Sabbath was coming in. So Aviv 15 is the Sabbath day. Again, you got to read all 4 books. Don't just run with one book. You got to take all those scriptures and put them together to see the bigger picture. But the Sabbath day was coming in. That's why they hurried and buried him, because the day of rest, the 7th day, was coming in. So the Aviv 15 is the 15th day right here. Okay. So I just told you in verse 15, Aviv 16 is the first day of the week. Do y'all see that? That's my day 1. I'm going by the formula that was given to the prophet Ezekiel for the calendar. See here, this is day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, and then you got Sabbath. Again, we ain't like these heathens. We don't name the days of our week after the hosts of the heavens, nor after his creations. Okay, and this is based on the formula that was given unto the prophet Ezekiel, and you can read about that in Ezekiel chapter 46. Okay. And to show y'all, all this stuff is dealing around agriculture. Read Exodus chapter 34. It tells you. We have to connect the dots, and we have to see things the way the Father sees it. So do y'all see that Aviv 16 is the day that followed after the Sabbath day? Do y'all see that?
Yes, sis. I see it.
Okay. And do y'all see that the Messiah was crucified on the Aviv 14? We have to lay that foundation. Okay. So now that we identified that the first day of the week, that was the day when Mary went to that tomb. Now, she didn't get to his tomb till the rising of the sun, but he already resurrected when that first light appeared in the heaven before the rising of the sun. So that is the same day when we have our people to bring the sheepway offering, or the first fruits of the barley harvest, to represent what? The Messiah being the first one of the resurrection. And along with him was the saints. Matthew chapter 27, verse 52 to 53. It's all there. Do y'all see how these kind of things go hand in hand? So Aviv 16 is your first day of the week, and it is the day or the morrow that comes after the Sabbath day. Okay. Then it said we're going to go in verse 16, we're supposed to count what? 7 Sabbaths. So this is how you do it. Because I'm following the formula that the prophet has gave us. I know that my first Sabbath is going to be on Aviv the 22nd. That's my first Sabbath. So that's why you see me put 1 of 7 of Sabbaths. That's highlighted in green. So I keep counting like this. I'm going to count 7 complete Sabbaths as you see me scrolling down, till I get to the 7th Sabbath. Now, I know y'all gonna say, well, you don't count the way the heathens told us to count. Again, you have to, this is word problems. It didn't say count 50 days. It said count 7 complete Sabbaths. Again, you have to look at words. And the 7th Sabbath is determined by the formula that's given by Ezekiel in Ezekiel chapter 46. So in the month of Aviv, I had a total of 2 complete Sabbaths. Because you have to remember your new moon day is separate from the week. It's not included. Again, you have to, this is word problems. We're not counting the way the heathens taught us to count. Right? We following the terminology of things. Very important. So when we get to the 2nd month, which is Zeph, the 3rd Sabbath fall on the 8th day of the 2nd month of the Most High calendar. Then the 4th Sabbath will fall on the 15th day of the 2nd month. And then the 5th Sabbath will fall on the 22nd day of the 2nd month. And then my 6th Sabbath will fall on the 29th day. And y'all, this lined up perfectly because we know in the 3rd month, this is when the children of Israel get to Mount Sinai. Remember, this is a twofold festival. Pentecost represents 2 things. And there was a renewing, or there was a renewing of the covenant made with Moses on Mount Sinai. There was a change taking place. So when we get to the 3rd month, known as Sivan in the Most High calendar, our 7th Sabbath will fall on the 8th day of the moon. Now when we get to verse 16, okay, verse 16 says what? The day after the 7th Sabbath, we will start numbering 50 days. So the day after the 7th Sabbath, y'all, do y'all see here? The 7th Sabbath fell on the 8th day of the 3rd month. Okay? So the day after that, the day that come after that is the 9th day of the 3rd month. And that's when you start counting towards 50. And when you do that, it's going to line up with Moses coming off that mountain, because the children of Israel was sinning on a holy day, on the Pentecost day. This is why Aaron said unto them, let us make a feast unto the Lord. And when you look in the Strong Concordance, the word Lord translate back to YAHUAH. So that's clues there. So when you get to that 50-day count, that's your Pentecost. But because we in the heathens world, they leave the 7 Sabbaths out, and this for have us focus on counting 50. But you have to walk this out, line upon line, verse upon verse. And then you have to look at your witnesses, because everything got to line up. The heavens and the earth got to line up with the scriptures. Okay? So when we look at verse 16, it says, even unto the Mars, so the day that comes after the Sabbath day, we identify that as in the 3rd month. So the Mars that comes after the Sabbath day is the 3rd, is the 9th day of the 3rd month. And that's when you start counting your 50. And when you do that, your counting the 50 is going to put you in summertime, after the summer solstice. And that's when your wheat going to be ripened for harvest. Which aligns with John chapter 4, verse 35. This is why the Messiah said what? The next harvest to come will be into what? Within 4 months. And he was talking about the wheat harvest. This is the harvest we're in now, the spiritual harvest. This is why he said they're going to be white. Okay. And notice here, a new meat offering. So what is that meat offering? On that day, which is Pentecost, Acts chapter 2, the unleavened bread, which is you, now become what? Bread, come bread made with leaven. So you're now filled with his spirit, his knowledge, his wisdom, his understanding. In other words, you have his mind and you see things a lot differently than what the world sees it. Don't make sense to the world, especially with that counting method that I just showed y'all don't make sense to the world. But it makes sense to us because I understand the prophet's formulas. It's a word problem. It said count 7 Sabbaths. It didn't say count 49 days. It said count 7 Sabbaths. What are the 7 Sabbaths? Enoch, not Enoch. Ezekiel told us what the Sabbath day is. First, you have new moon day. Then the east gate is closed for 6 working days. And then the 7th day is your Sabbath day. Okay. So everything's lining up. So I don't see no Israelites showing us wheat when Pentecost comes. They just showing us flour they got from the store. I just shake my head. Because he gave you the witnesses. He gave you his heaven. He gave you the earth. And we ain't looking at none of that. But we want to go to somebody's book and say, well, this person wrote this book. But we won't go to the prophets. No, they're not going to go to the mouthpiece of the Most High. They're going to go to somebody else. But on his day of court, I better go with the prophets because the prophets are what's going to justify me in his day of judgment. Not somebody else's books or thoughts or writings. Okay? Let us continue to read. Go down to verse 17. And that new meat offering is made with salt too. Like I said, all those things represent something. But when you read the gospel, you get a full understanding of what they represent, and it takes place to change that's going to happen with you. The Messiah set the example. That's why he called the second Adam. Verse 17, ye shall bring out of your habitations 2 weighed loaves of 2 tenths deal. They shall be of fine flour. They shall be baken with leaven. So that's proof unto you that the leaven dealing with doctrines. But whose doctrines? This leaven that we're going to bake this bread with in Pentecost is dealing with the doctrines of God, not the doctrines of man or the doctrines of Satan. They are the first fruits unto Yahuwah. So we always give our Father the first of the first. So any harvest that we all have, we give him the first of it before we partake in the rest. Okay. The next thing that's going to bring us to, but before I go there, anybody have any questions on this part? Because this part, you're going to have to go back and meditate and see what I'm talking about.
No, sis, I'm good.
Okay.
All right.
So the next part that we're going to come into is how to prepare for the Passover. Because many are focusing on just taking the leaven out their house and not understanding he's talking about you. You need to take the leaven that's in your heart, because I can't teach you anything or I can't show you anything because you filled up with Satan's doctrines. You filled up with man's doctrines. So with the Passover, do y'all want to share some of the things y'all would share with me about the Passover? What the living word showed you?
Sure, sis. A lot of people don't understand that, like you said before, the temple is not us. We are that temple that he comes and dwell therein. And he's jealous and he doesn't want anything else residing with him in that temple. So we have to remove a lot of the way we think, the old ways, put away that old. It's like putting away that old man and making room for that new man, something like that. And we have to purge all those doctrines. old ways of thinking, things we were taught before, because those things may have been taught to us in error, and we become puffed up with the wrong thing. The idea of the Passover is really to remove all these things within our temple that can defile or even prevent the Spirit of Yah from coming and renewing and refreshing our bodies. And that's really what it is about. Because even if we take the time to remove all of the leaven and the yeast from our fridge, you vacuum every piece of crumbs from your car, or even remove everything that contains leaven from your cupboards, if you are not focusing on your temple, your house, your tent, you're gonna miss this feast that's coming up. You're really gonna miss it. That's the
and then all your work is done in vain because you
that's
missed
right,
them all.
sis. That's right. You
And
missed
I'm
them.
glad you. I didn't even think about that. I forgot about the crumbs in your carpet and the
Right.
stuff that you cannot see. And that's what I'm telling
Right.
people. You cannot do these things
No.
perfectly. This is why he tells us we have to worship him down in spirit and truth.
That's right. So we just
Because
want brothers and sisters to remember it's us. He wants to come and deal with us, dwell with us, and renew our hearts so we can become connected to him. We have to remove these things that puff up. But remember, leaven puffs up, literally it puffs you up.
The ego.
Yes.
Like, I know, I got it.
Yes. And this is why it's also important that as we approach the Passover, to take time and stop and think about these things and say, okay, Father, I need to remove this. I need to remove that so you can come and dwell with me, so you can give me your spirit now I want to become puffed up with your spirit and not the doctrine of men. And that's the idea of Passover.
Sis, you put it perfectly. Oh, you put it so perfectly.
Thank you, sis.
I hope those who are watching this video, I hope y'all are really hearing what our sister just shared with us, because many are missing the mark. And what he showed us, because my sister here was sharing something with me, what he showed us that we are in a defiled state, and we are keeping his holy days. And because we are in this defiled state, we are already sinning. Right. And what I mean by that, a lot of things are implanted in our heart that has to be removed so that we are no longer defiled, but we are sanctified. We are clean. We are holy. Because when you go back to the beginning, you will understand that you cannot partake anything of his that is holy, including his holy feast days and new moon days. You cannot partake in it if you are defiled.
No.
And things that can defile you are evil thoughts, lust and desire in your heart, keeping the doctrines of men and Satan. These are the things can defile you. So you already put yourself in a state of sinning, a state of transgressing against your Father in heaven when these holy days come. It's something that's really not about.
Yes, sis, good point. Anything that is not of his spirit will defile you. And you have to search yourself and ask yourself, what is within me that is not of his spirit? And that's what you're going to have to remove.
And the Father reminded me this is why with the nation of Israel, you don't see no mention of the Sabbath. You only see it in Genesis 2. You don't see no mention of the Sabbath until you get to Exodus 16, because before that point, he had to sanctify them. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 1 through 5 will confirm unto you how he sanctified them so they can partake in his Sabbath day. And that is the same with us. But now we're operating more on the spiritual level now.
Right.
So these are the things that your leaders are not teaching you. They're more focused on the task. In other words, they're focusing on the outer things, and they're not aware that it's the inner things that's going to keep you from the kingdom of heaven, or it's the inner things that would call you be called the least in the kingdom of heaven, because there's different types of inheritance, but they're not teaching you that.
Right. And remember, he is that candle. I think it's Psalms 139.
That's
He
right.
is that candle that's going to come and sweep and search your inward part. And you have to remember, when he comes, you don't want him to find anything that has spot or anything that's wrinkled, because then he cannot come and dwell. You won't receive that fullness and that overflowing that he wants to give you. He may still show you mercy, but that fullness is what you really want, because now you want to go from that flat bread to that full bread.
That's right.
Fullness.
Oh, sis, I like how you put it. And I pulled the screen up because I want my brothers and sisters to do a word search with doctrine, because this is what we were talking about the leaven. Many of y'all just teaching you that leaven is saying, no, it goes deeper than that. Okay, it's talking about doctrines. For example, Matthew chapter 7, verse 28, it said, it came to pass when Yahusha have ended these saying, the people was astonished at his doctrine. Why would they be astonished at his doctrine? Because they never heard nothing like this before. And the reason why that astonished them, because his doctrine came from heaven above. That's why in John chapter 8, he said, all things are taught unto me by my Father in heaven. Letting you know his doctrine come from heaven above. Matthew chapter 15, verse 9, it said, but in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines, the commandments of men. Again, this leaven I'm talking about comes from the man doctrine, Satan doctrines, like the Talmud, the Kabbalah, and other so-called religions of the earth who have other books. That don't come from heaven above. That comes from Satan as a decoy, as a distraction, as a stumbling block unto you.
And remember also, sis, in Matthew chapter 16, he warned about the doctrine.
Right here. I got it right on the screen.
Got it? Good.
It says here in Matthew chapter 16, he's telling you what the leaven is. Now, he said, then understood they how that he bade them not beware of the leaven of the bread. Now, you see colon here, it's going to expound on that. It's going to let us know what that leaven is. It said it's the leaven, the leaven of bread, but of the doctrines of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And when you read in the other verse, you will see that this doctrine also came from the Herodians, because all of them was bearing the same thing. They were taught the same thing. And we see the same thing being taught among the One West camps, which come from the YAHUAH people, because all you got to do follow the leader. Aviv came from the commandment keepers, and the commandment keepers showed out the Jewish people who's the YAHUAH, and that's how they got their teachings. That's why you see a lot of similarity of the doctrines of the One West that's found in the Talmud. It's there. You do your research. Matthew chapter 22. No, that one. Let's see here. Like I said, you do a word search, just type in doctrines. Here go another one. And he said unto them, this is in Mark chapter 12, verse 38. And he said unto them in his doctrine, beware of the scribes, which love to go in long clothing and love salutations in the marketplaces. Do y'all see that? He's talking about the doctrines of men would come from Satan. This is what's in your heart. This is why many of y'all have a hard time with the calendar, because you're coming with the doctrines of what these so-called leaders are teaching you, and you're not coming with the doctrines of what the prophets say. This is why you have that inner strife.
That's right.
Within yourself.
That's right. I remember too, some of the doctrines of the Pharisees that's going on now in a lot of the camps are just the rituals, like the ceremonial part of the Passover. It's just going through the motion, going through the routine, just to get it done, not really realizing why they're doing it. So that's a doctrine too. Okay, the ritual part of it.
I'm glad you mentioned that too, dealing with the ritual, because Josephus even expound on the Pharisees and told us they don't follow the Torah.
Right.
They follow the oral law, the traditions of their forefathers. Because look at how they kept Passover in the gospel. They kept Passover in the daytime when the Messiah kept Passover at sundown.
Yes.
That tells you.
Yes.
like I said, it's clues there. I pull up Herodians because I want y'all to see that even the Herodians was after the Messiah. The Herodians was dealing with the lineage of Edom, who was living in the land of Israel, and they had converted to the ways of the Israelites, but their conversion was under the Pharisees' teaching.
Right.
Remember about King, was it King Herod? Yep, that's where they come from that lineage. Okay, and you could read about them in Matthew chapter 22, Mark chapter 3, and Mark chapter 12. And this is I say about the serpents. These Pharisees, Sadducees, and Herodians, they were trying to catch the Messiah in his word. Just like today, the children of the devil try to twist our words. They don't speak straight. They come through that side door with crookedness, deceptiveness, and then they want to take your words and use it against you when they know what you are saying unto them. But that's how a serpent operates. That's why the book called him crooked. So if it's anything else y'all want to add about the Passover keeping?
I think that's it, sis. And brothers and sisters, remember as you partaking in this feast to meditate on First Corinthians 5. 1 Corinthians chapter 5. It really gives you an idea of what we should be doing now in the new covenant as we keep this mainly as a spiritual person. Paul really broke it down nicely. And just remember that we cannot partake of this feast if you're still filled with leaven, not just doctrines, but that old man, malice,
I'm glad you clarified that.
hatred, adultery, fornication. We cannot partake in the feast when we are still filled with those things.
And there is a makeup Passover, but how you do it, and the Father want me to remind y'all just need to repent. How do you repent?
Yes.
He said, repent in my name and sin no more. And if you're struggling with something, then cry out unto him and he will deliver you of that thing. Yes. Because all these things are dealing with spirits. Yes. Whatever's manifest in the physical, y'all, I'm telling y'all, it's a spirit tied to it. And only the living word, who is Yahusha HaMashiach, is the one that can break it. So don't stress about how to keep Passover. Pull your books out, read about it, study about it. No, you're not going to be perfect. But guess what? As you strive, you will become perfect, because he who dwells in you, who makes you perfect in this and how to keep it. All right, I think we done said enough on this topic. If nobody have anything else to add, we're gonna close everything out. This is, like I said, a brief talk from keeping a Passover to understanding when there's Pentecost, and to understand why these things have to be in their correct season, because you're gonna see many error. It's nothing to argue with them. Let them be if they want to keep it, because time has a way of proving itself unto you. Okay, sometimes people have to fall and so they can see what you're talking about. So let them be. But our calendar records will prove and back up what we are saying. So don't argue and fuss with them. Now, if you meet someone who challenge you on what you know, remember this: ask them for their calendar records. Don't just show them your stuff. Ask them for their records, because a lot of times people who challenge you on this, not even keeping a calendar record themselves. But they just going by what man has taught them, but they're not coming to you with any proof. Okay, so use wisdom when you deal with those naysayers. All right, we hope that. Oh, let me see here. Did I bring my screen up? What screen do y'all see? I don't know if I
see Leviticus.
That's what it is. I didn't bring it over. Let me show this.
Okay.
I forgot to show it. Just do a word search. I did a word search on Herodians. And then I did a word search on doctrines. So y'all can see that. And you will see those scriptures that I just read. Oh, not with an S though. Type doctrines without an S. And I did New Testament only. And you will see it there. Oh, I know one verse. This is one of my favorite verses. This is what he said to Peter when he had to rebuke him. Because it's a difference from the things of the Most High versus the things of this world and of Satan. And I think it's in the book of Mark. Getting close there. We go to. Here you go. Mark chapter 8, verse 33. But when he had turned about and looked on his disciples, he rebuked Peter. Remember, he had to rebuke Peter because Peter didn't want him to do something, but it was the Father's will for him to do it. I tell you what, let me open the whole chapter. You can see how this should be easy to remember. I love 33. Let's see here. Here we go. All right. This computer sometimes has a delayed response. About there. All right, let's see where we're at. Okay. I want to bring this up higher. So every time I want, okay, here we go. Verse 31, and he began to teach them. Do you see? Then I am must suffer many things and be rejected of the elders, of the chief priests and scribes, and be killed. And after 3 days, rise again. Now, right here that English, y'all, it says after 3 days. But if you put all the verses up, it's going to tell you it's on the third day when he resurrected. This is why the Father said he go by precept behind precept, but he gave you the prophet Hosea to tell you that he resurrected on the third day. To be 14, see if you see it. There was a day that happened, but it was 4 days and 4 days. Verse 32, and he spake that saying openly, and Peter took him and began to rebuke him. Peter was going to get the will of God, the will of Yah, because he told them he is the son of Adam. He is the descendant. He suffered many things. He's going to be rejected by the elders. He's going to be rejected by the chief priests and scribes and be killed. And on the third day, he'll be resurrected. So he had to rebuke Peter. I'm sorry. Yeah, he had to rebuke Peter. Okay. But when he had turned about and looked on his disciples, he rebuked Peter, saying, Get thee behind me, Satan. And you got to ask yourself, why would he call this to what? This has nothing to do with you. This has to do with Spirit that abide you, come in you, that can speak things in your heart for you to say. Right? So he's that is speaking through Peter, that's putting that thought in Peter's mind to say unto the Messiah. So he said, Get thee behind me, Satan, for thou savorest not the things that Satan desire things or savorest. So the same for Satan going to be the same for his children. They're not going to savor these things. Okay, but the things that be a man, as you can see. So this leaven that he's telling you to what he's meaning, that these things are of men, these Satan, and it has nothing to do with our Father. All right, we are happy that you had enjoyed this lesson. Let me bring this picture back up again. Back up. And for your soul. And I'll bring this one up because I like this picture. And that you truly understand what leaven he needs for you to remove now in this time. And he's talking about the leaven that's in your heart. Remove some men, their traditions. Go back to his prophet's writings. If you understand something, ask in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach and be patient and wait on him, and he will give it unto you. But you keep striving, stay in his word, pray, pass on it day and night, and he will begin to show you the mysteries, the messages. And he will give you his knowledge, his wisdom, and his understanding. And all these things come from his spirit, the comforter, Yahusha HaMashiach. For through him, he is the left, he is the door, and he is the fountain. And you will never be hungry, and you will never go athirst, because you will be satisfied with the knowledge and the wisdom and the understanding that he gives. We bid you shalom. Those who want to join us on the next class session, please call 919-972-8970. 919-972-8970. And make sure that the people receive salvation as read in Romans chapter 10. Follow the example that the Lamb and the disciples set with the water baptism and the Holy Spirit baptism. If you have no one to baptize you, you can do it yourself. Exercise your faith, for the water is the second witness in the earth, as well as the earth is his witness and the heavens his witness. Read 1 John chapter 5. You can do the same with the Holy Spirit baptism. All you have to do is ask in the name of Yahushua Mashiach, and he shall give it unto you according to your heart, your faith, and your works. And shalom.